Hello everyone, just a quick word from your friendly editor/husband. For all of you who listen to So I'm Watching This Show and own an Android device, do me a favor. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android devices. I use the app and love it. I can search for the podcasts I want to listen to, select them as favorites, and have them all just a click away. Make sure you set So I'm Watching the Show as a favorite so you don't miss any new episodes. Again, the app is Podcast Republic, available on your Android device. Thanks!
So it was Thursday, the day before Valentine's Day, and I was stopping at Walmart because you asked me to get some sugar, and I was getting some other stuff. And the woman at the cash register was very enthusiastic, and she was putting on a play. And she was like, "You don't have anything for Valentine's Day?" And I was like, I'm getting a pizza. Maybe I'll eat that on Valentine's Day. And she was like, "You don't have a Valentine?" And she was very concerned. And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Well, I don't remember exactly what she said. It was something like next year will be a good year again or good again or something." And I was like, "I've never had a Valentine." And she was like, so concerned. She was like, "You've never had a Valentine?" And I said,
"Not that big a deal."
I was like, "I'm more of like I'm not a Valentine type. I'm more of like the other woman type." She stared at me. And
it was your fault for doing that in Walmart. The lady in Target would have laughed.
In my mind, I was like, "You must know Carrie Underwood. 2 black Cadillacs. You've got it." No. So, yeah. And so we finished the rest of it in silence. She was very upset, very concerned. So
that's amazing. Like, truly amazing.
I was like, "Lady, I'm wondering what the rest of her day was like."
I'm sure she has not stopped thinking about the sad man who walked through her line on the day before Valentine's Day.
Other people's marriages. Hello, everybody. I am Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the new movie that was sharded out over the weekend by the name of Fantasy Island.
I was not expecting you to say that.
There's actually so much to say about this movie. I don't even know where to begin. I guess I'll start with, I am not familiar with the original other than conceptually.
Sure.
I know Montalban, right?
Yes.
And then Tattoo was like, the Blaine, and it was kind of problematic, maybe.
Yeah.
And then they did it in the 90s with Malcolm McDowell and
Metch and
Amick. And I remember watching it in the 90s because I was excited because of the word fantasy. And I was kind of like, it didn't mean what I thought it meant. But I think
I loved it.
No, did you watch it?
I did. I watched it until it stopped coming on.
Oh, wow. I think there was, the only thing I really remember was there a girl who turned into a dolphin?
I think that's Metch and Amick.
Okay. Oh, well then now I want to watch
this. But I don't remember almost anything about it.
Okay. And so Blumhouse, which is a mixed bag, wouldn't you say? Or is it?
Yeah, no, it's mixed. I mean, it's not, I would say it's like pretty evenly mixed because I've really enjoyed as many movies as I've thought were duds that they've produced. So
and that's exciting.
It is. It makes it real interesting.
And someone like us who we don't mind, like, in a weird way, it's almost as exciting, if not more, to go to a bad movie. So yeah. I was on board with this one. I remember seeing the trailer, and it tries to pull a 1-2 punch in the trailer. And as I recall, it did it successfully. I think it starts off, you're thinking it's going to be pleasant, and then it goes sinister with the brilliant use of Ariana Grande's 2 Rings.
Yeah.
That song lends itself to sinister in a way that I wouldn't have.
Isn't it 7 rings?
Did I say 9?
I said 2.
2. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. 7 rings.
Okay.
You like my hair? Gee, thanks. I better not, because then we're going to owe Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Right.
Not even Ariana Grande. It's just going right to them. It was Lucy Hale and Ryan Hansen are the 2 that I really noticed. And then Michael Pena is the new whatever Rourke. Very weird use of Michael Pena.
Very weird use of Michael Pena. Really weird use of Maggie Q. Not the generation's best dramatic actress.
Well, it's funny you say that, actually, because she was one of the only parts that I thought worked for me, but maybe I was confusing Pretty.
Yes.
Okay.
She is medium at best.
Okay. I was blown away.
No, you're incorrect.
We're only at the trailer, and we're already 4 movies in. Like,
yeah.
This is trying to do so much, and to cut to a tonal chase, this movie's terrible. It's like really, really just awful.
Yeah.
But there's actually a lot to mine, and there's some stuff to say, and I'm assuming it's the same for you. Broad, no spoiler, no detail stuff. What did you think?
Okay, I was actually like, even though when we were sitting at lunch, you were like, it's got a 10 on Rotten Tomatoes, I was like, I was still prepared to like enjoy it, you know, like to at least be entertained. And I will say that I was at least entertained.
Well, I asked Will, you were in the bathroom and we were walking out. And I was like, was there a point in the middle of the movie where you liked it? And he was like, yeah, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave that at that for now. But yeah, it's trying to do too many movies. And the thing is, it's like 2 of the 3 or 2 of the 4 I'm interested in seeing, and/or like I wish they had landed on one of those.
Sure.
I think there's a fundamental issue from the get-go. Well, Will said it. He was like, if that were a comedy, it would have been great.
Well, yeah, if they had leaned in, because I was like, I laughed a handful of times genuinely.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially everything with Ryan Hansen and Jimmy O Yang, all of their stuff to me was gold.
I thought they were terrible.
No, I thought it was funny, and I just like maybe Ryan Hansen is my Maggie Q, and I just was like responding to how much I love him in general and how cute he is.
I agree. I think he's so cute, but the bro-y thing. They weren't the worst. The worst was the other dude.
Oh my God, I can't even.
Marlon Blando, whatever. He looked like if a white dude cosplayed as a white dude. Like,
that's an excellent.
Like if a white dude put on whiteface. It was just
like the whitest, most boring dude.
I'm trying to pull him up now in my memory, and I have that face blindness. Just like
well, his name is Austin Stoll, and I can be pretty sure that we're not going to be following his career going forward.
I'm so sorry, but this was
not great.
This was a no for me. You are not getting a ticket to Hollywood Week.
This was a no for me. He was on Secret Life. That's what's wrong with him.
It was so bad. Because didn't they even say something? They made a joke about his haircut. They're like,
your haircut's racist.
Yeah, it was awful. Also, I mean, so far every review, every bit of critical information I've read has told me I'm wrong. But I thought Lucy Hale was great. I thought she was so funny.
Yeah, I think look, you hire Lucy Hale, you get Aria Montgomery. I don't know what these bitches are thinking they're trying to accomplish hiring little tiny baby Lucy Hale.
But she was even, I talked about it, but it's like the one line that actually really got me in the trailer was when they were trying to figure out like how the fantasy part of it would work. And somebody's like, maybe it's holograms. And she goes, like Tupac. And he's like, but what if they're dead? And she goes, Tupac. Like, yeah. It just, there was something about it. And frankly, I should have known from the beginning because the biggest kind of I had was the fact that, look, I understand a fantasy of wanting to get revenge on a high school bully.
Sure.
But in no I cannot believe, like I cannot suspend disbelief to go to the place where that would mean a hostile-esque situation.
Right. Yes.
And I mean, she becomes properly horrified at the appropriate, well, at the most necessary moment.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
As the movie progresses, it just asks so many more questions. And actually from the start, because remember that opening scene with Portia Doubleday, like running through this island. And I was like, so wait, they're kidnapping the people first?
Well, it appears only her.
Only her. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
because
the movie
she's
gets into
okay, because we're gonna get into spoilers if we don't.
And you don't want to be spoiled. Trust me when I say
this movie. The twists just keep on coming.
It's a hat on a hat on a hat.
It is a hat on a hat.
It could have stopped like 3 twists
Yeah.
Because the twist at the end, that's where the movie completely lost me. I was like, halt the projector.
Which one specifically?
Did we want to talk any more generally about the movie? Let's talk. I don't know why this is going to be one of our new Alita Battle Angel.
I don't know. I don't think it is because I wasn't as baffled by any point in this movie as I was by Alita. But
no, that's true. But
yeah.
Part of it was fascinating. Like the whole, like Maggie Q's whole thing. That to me is a little bit interesting about like seeing the life that could have been.
And you get into like an ethical thing where it's like, have I created these like sort of like a golem kind of thing? Like what's actually going on? Is it ethical for me to change other people's lives just because I was unsatisfied?
Up to and including their betrayal at the fact that the fantasy was real fantasy.
Yeah.
Because he explains to them very blatantly that they only get one fantasy. And she's able to force his hand to give her a second fantasy because she's like, if I actually knew, this would be like, you deceived me. Mm-hmm. And it kind of works in a weird way where I was like, this is interesting. And then I was so on, but that's where I was like, okay, maybe this movie is brilliant. And then when she goes into her second fantasy, trying to save the life of somebody that she accidentally, it was like inadvertent. I mean, would that even be manslaughter? It was an accident.
It's totally an accident. I mean, I don't know that you can be necessarily criminally prosecuted for something like that, but that is honestly one of my largest pet peeves in a movie where it's like you did something accidentally and someone died and you have this like never ending guilt. And like, I know that can happen in real life, but I just like, you didn't murder him. She
wasn't even being reckless from what they showed us. It was like there was a fire in her apartment 6 years ago and the man in the apartment above died. He didn't make it out. And so if it had ended with that story, I would have been, okay, this is really interesting. And, and I even liked the idea that their stories crossed over both on the island and in history.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But you need to pick one. You can't have both and then do 3 more twists. This was like if the TV show Lost was a movie.
Okay, yes.
And just as baffling when all of a sudden, where it's like kind of magic, but kind of not. And like maybe it's purgatory and they all know each other. And you know what I mean? It's
exactly.
It was so weird. And there were just so many parts of it, like, because furthermore, I was actually super into Lucy Hale's story once she had set, I don't remember any of the names, Portia Doubleday free.
Apparently it was Sonia?
It can't be. The names are wrong on IMDb because Charlotte McKinney. Oh,
they sure are.
Charlotte McKinney is credited as Aphrodite, and they called her Chastity through the whole movie.
And Maggie Q's is Elena, and her name was Gwen.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so these are definitely wrong.
Because we buried the lead with Chastity.
Hysterical.
She's the best character in the whole thing. I actually wanted a little bit more because they weirdly insist that she's a character and then she just kind of disappears. But I wanted the panic room full of models to play more of a role.
Absolutely. Me too.
It was because then on top of it, it's also bedazzled. It's the careful what you wish for, up to and including drug cartel and
like a Faust kind of situation.
Yeah, really bonkers. And then there's a whole point with Michael Rooker where he's like talking about like why on earth was that real? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
weird use of Michael Rooker.
And what happened?
I mean, I suspect Michael Rooker is kind of the sort of guy who just like takes whatever comes his way just because he likes it, but
what happened to him? Didn't he die? What happened to him?
He died. He like took the Dr. Torture or whatever over the edge of the cliff.
That also didn't make any sense because it's like, why did all of the bad guys keep coming back to life after their eyes exploded? It was really
because they were some kind of zombies.
So we're obviously clearly into proper spoilery places.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's safe to say that we can argue semantics about Maggie Q and Ryan Hansen. But Marlon Brando and his like war masculine father dad man issues was.
I can't.
Oh,
I can't. Every time he said something, every time he said anything, I just was like, whoa.
So groan inducing.
So, just gross and like hyper masculinity, and I cannot handle characters like that. And
because
so one
he
thing,
wouldn't take his father's umbrella because he wanted to prove that he was tough enough that he didn't need it.
Didn't want you to see I was crying.
No, that was what the real thing was. He didn't want his father to know that he was crying.
Just men cry with your sons, please. For the love of God, cry with your sons.
9-year-old boys are allowed to cry when their father goes to war.
It's unbelievable.
Oh,
and so it's just like everything that
in prison.
Yeah, it super is. So one of the things that Will said is he was like, it would have been, because they had so many things they were doing, it would have been fine if like that one story was cliche, but they like all got so cliche that it's just like there was nothing interesting about any of it, and it was like just very frustrating.
And the dialogue, it was so stilted for the most part. Like, I mean, Lucy Hale did her best, but
maybe that's why I was responding to Ryan Hansen and Jimmy O Yang as well, because like Ryan Hansen is very good at like delivering shit.
On a platter, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it was like that they were good characters or that they were like the most interesting, but I think that they both come from comedy in a way that the rest of them do not.
Yeah, well, and I don't know if you were doing this, but I kept overthinking the movie. Like I was giving it too much credit because I was thinking we were going to go to a Twilight Zone place with them where it's like their version of fantasy. This like never ending party life became hell.
Yeah. So I was giving the movie too much credit at a couple points too. And that was definitely one of them.
Were you there too?
Well, once you said that, I was like, well, it can't be anything else. And it just turned out to be something else that was not as good.
It's just one of my favorite stories. Two of my buddies, Mike and Martin, when we lived together, Mike had moved down and him and Martin went out on like 5 days in a row. It was the Halloween weekend. And this was 2013, so they were dressed up as LMFAO. And it was like the Sunday, and Mike was trying to go downtown for like Sunday fun day, and Martin, still in his costume from the night before, was laying face down to the couch, and he just goes, "No more party rock, party rest."
So good.
That's what it was kind of like. That's what I was waiting for, and instead, they also all merged in a way that if like a completely separate time than when they merged in Maggie Q's Do-Over,
right?
They merged in a way that if it was just like 20% more thoughtful, I would have been like, oh.
Honestly, I would say that about the whole movie. If the whole movie were 20% more thoughtful, I could have got behind it more.
I was also curious as to what level of magic we were dealing with, and it turns out a lot.
A lot, yeah. Like too much, I think.
Yeah, well,
too much, and also they were like too intent on actually explaining it.
Like to the point where they almost all of them turned and faced us to tell us. The audience.
It was definitely too much trying to explain it within the movie, where like I would have welcomed, I think, a little bit more. Yeah, I don't know. The island just does it. Like
a little bit more smoke monster.
Yeah, I didn't really need. There's a really poorly constructed spring in this cave system on the island.
Yeah, it turned into a Pirates of the Caribbean sequel at one point. I was like, what the crap is happening? And the like doppelgangers in the cave. It just like hat on a hat on a hat on a fascinator on a hat, like. And
on top of Rebecca Ferguson.
And and then that happens twice, like with the doppelgangers, but only sometimes.
Well, it feels like it's only to Portia Doubleday.
No, because it happened to I guess it didn't happen to Jimmy O Yang because it was Ryan Hansen.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, I'm at a loss.
I really am. It was the movie's not good. It's not doing well. We were in the biggest theater with like 20 people.
It really was in literally the largest theater that our theater has.
It was also too long. Like it was way too long.
Yeah, almost 2 full hours.
I would have guessed over, because there was a point in the middle where I was writing my review in my head and I was like, look, this movie isn't good. I was like, but it's shockingly watchable. I was like, I would watch this so many more times before I return to like 4 of the Oscar nominated Best Pictures.
Well, Will said the same thing, and he was like, I would watch Fantasy Island 1,000,000 times before I put Joker on again.
Yeah, but it's like the further into the movie you get, Like, yeah, it needed to decide what it was doing and needed to do that, because I wish, like, once we got to the reveal with Maggie Q's plot, I kind of wish that was the end. It goes from them living out their fantasies to Maggie Q realizing that she had the wrong fantasy, that she wished she could go back and save this person's life, to then them all realizing that they played a role in his death. So then they must be within a fantasy that someone he knows is trying to get revenge on the people that caused his death. And so I'm like, okay, that's already 2 layers deep. And it's I mean, maybe not foolproof, but solid. But then they're like, the girl must be his mother, but then she's Michael Pena's wife. So then they're like, whose fantasy are we in? And then Lucy Hale is like, my fantasy.
Whilst twirling her mustache.
Because literally Portia Doubleday at one point was like, well, then what was with all of that stuff between you and me? And she was like, I was acting, duh. And it was like, for who? That only makes sense if you know you're in the movie.
Agreed and understood. And also, that's the most irritating thing, is that Lucy Hale played it so straight the whole time. Like, I believed Lucy Hale at every moment in a way that, like, if I would have rather been suspecting it was her part of the time. Like, I could have handled, like, a longing look at the back of Portia Doubleday with rage in her eyes. You know what I mean?
Or even, like, yeah, because we get to a point where it's like, what is the moral of the story? You are right to bully the kids who are weird because they're psycho. Like, I
mean, I suspect that the message was don't do it because they will turn into psychos, but that's almost just as problematic.
I was like, that's a completely different terrible moral.
Yeah.
Like, that was truly wild. That's when there was like a collective, like the theater kind of shrugged and threw the popcorn like over their shoulder. Like,
yeah.
it was very bizarre. And they did that thing that we talk about a little bit where it's like 2 of them die for real.
Yeah, real weird.
But then ultimately only Blandface dies.
Oh, yeah, he did. Well, because he fucking jumped on the grenade like a hero. I hate him so much. I wish that his dad could get deader somehow. It was awful. He had to prove himself that he was a hero because he didn't go in the burning building with Maggie Q. He's not qualified to go in a burning building. He was a police officer.
Well, but also, I think he should have.
Well, sure, but like, it just, I don't know.
But that's
so
not the sin. The him throwing himself on the bomb isn't payment for the sin of not going in, is it? I don't fucking, because then what was Ryan Hansen's sin?
That they didn't, it was him and Jimmy O Yang, it was that they didn't like check his room because he was supposed to be out on a date.
I mean, when Ryan Hansen got shot in the fantasy.
What was his sin? No, nothing within the fantasy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm doing that thing where I'm taking scary movie rules as gospel, but it's like, what did Ryan Hansen do to deserve dying for real?
Nothing.
And so it's weird.
Yes, definitely. I can hear the meeting that happened where they were like, it's just really subverting all of the scary movie tropes. And it's like, no, you did a bad thing to a person who doesn't deserve it. This isn't torture porn. You're doing it wrong. Well,
because, and I mean, if again, I'm going to say it again, but if his sin was that he was terrible, then that needed to be more apparent.
It needed to be more highlighted, and then Jimmy O Yang needed to die too, because they were equally horrible. Terrible. Yeah.
Although Jimmy O Yang was gay, so that does...
True.
Forgive him.
A gay
or
POC.
Add another different sin. I have no clue. I have no...
That's the thing, is I feel like we're ascribing too much thought to this movie that clearly had almost zero plot, or like thought put into it.
It can't get any more entertaining. Parisa, what's her face, dies because she's Michael Pena's wife, which was the most odd. That one I pegged immediately.
Of course. Yeah.
And he's keeping her alive selfishly or something. Why did he stay on the island, Michael Pena?
Because she died in the real world, and he heard, like, on the way to find this island. And so his whole deal is that he's staying there in order to keep her alive, but she keeps dying within the fantasy.
Oh, so he's going to do it again.
So I think he did finally let her actually go.
That's what I thought. And so I was like,
at the end there, but he had been basically courting her every time she like woke back up again. And then he was like, it got too painful to keep courting her, so I just told her she was my assistant. And I was like, that is the shittiest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. And like,
to just let your spouse keep dying painfully from what appears to be 21st century tuberculosis, but whatever.
And so, like I said, so then it turns into another movie where the movie is literally 10 minutes from ending. And I was like, this is an origin story. This is a prequel. Mm-hmm. And so Jimmy O. Yang decides to trade his life for his brother's, even though, again, I mean, though I just was arguing that Ryan Hansen didn't deserve to die, of the two of them, Jimmy O. Yang was better.
Yeah, of course, yes.
So he stays on the island so that Ryan Hansen can leave, primarily just so they can get a very
ham-fisted,
and problematic on the surface, small Asian-esque man to say the plane named Tattoo. And it like, I just felt like when we saw this trailer, I was like, thank God Tattoo is in the past. And I'm like, oh no, we're dealing with some Final Destination 6 shit here. And I just, my brain just pieced out. So,
well, I can't wait for the sequel, so.
Well, and it's like weirdly the only person who like didn't deserve any of this is the terrible mean girl.
Yeah, Portia Doubleday legit is the only one who didn't deserve anything. The only
innocent victim in the whole thing.
She did cheat on her husband, but...
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with Fantasy Island. Like,
yeah, nothing at all to do with it.
So okay, so the only innocent victim is her poor husband, who then called that plane person to come to the island to save them, and they got bazookaed out of the sky. This movie was
straight
bonkers.
Up bazookaed out of the sky. You are not wrong. So I saw the name in the credits. I saw the name Kim Coates, and I was like, oh my God, I love him. He was on Sons of Anarchy. He played Tig. He's the one that got all involved with Walton Goggins. Fuck, I forget her name.
Venus Van Dam.
Yes, yeah. And I loved him on that show. I was like, man, I can't wait for Kim Coates to show up. And so we're like 40 minutes into the movie, and I still don't have Kim Coates. And I'm like, where the fuck is he? And then he's like weirdly doing this horrible accent, and he's like the one that's going after Ryan Hansen and Jimmy O. Yang as though it's like a drug cartel situation gone wrong, which like had no... It was all very weird use of an actor I really like. I was just really baffled by it.
The whole thing, yeah. So I say, don't go to the theaters. I mean, unless that's your particular brand.
If you really want to, I mean, I'm not going to discourage people from going to see this in the theater. There are some beautiful sweeping vistas, at least.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, if you like bad movies or if you enjoy this thing like we do, then absolutely. But, you know, if you're actually trying to find a good movie, leave after Maggie Q falls asleep in the burning building. Because it's like, if that were just the movie, then you could cut the last 30 minutes and just be like, and they made it.
Yeah, do that, or I don't know.
Or just don't go.
I mean, it's...
I don't
know. I really wanted to enjoy it more than I did. And it's not that I can't even in good conscience say I hated it, because like I said, I was entertained for the majority of it.
I was entertained at moments. Like,
yeah, it just did too many things. Way too many things.
So then who was Nick's ghost on the island? We kept seeing this like charred corpse. But if he wasn't the mastermind and it was Lucy Hale, was she manifesting a corpse of him on the island to terrorize the other people?
Maybe.
I don't.
Yeah, it was not explained well enough.
The one thing that they didn't... Okay, I'm good.
Well, there were like some things were over-explained, but it was really never the things that needed explanation. Where like the magic of the island, I didn't need such a detailed explanation, nor did I need the like... Fraggle Rock thing in that cave system. It just didn't. Dark Crystal is what I was trying to say. All I could think of was Fraggle Rock, but they do both work. But like, that's not what I needed clarification on. I needed clarification on the actual plot, and they just were kind of. It was one of those things where it's like, like a magic trick where they're like, don't look over here with the plot, look over here with the dark crystal. And I just was like, okay, I guess, but I still am curious about the plot.
The last 2 episodes, I've been meaning to do this in the beginning, but I was going to say we do have exciting news about a new opportunity for us.
Yes.
And you guys, is that we are currently partnering with the app TVCO, TVCO.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically an app that allows you to do live watch parties for your favorite shows.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. Did you need me to
Well,
agree?
I was waiting for you to like chime in and be like, yeah. So speaking of Lucy Hale, we will be hosting a live viewing party for the run of Katie Keene on the CW. So if you would like to watch Katie Keene, and if you would like to watch it with us, or you would like to watch us watch Katie Keene, you can download TVCO on your... Is it only on iPhones at the moment?
No, it's both.
Both. Okay. You can download
Android
the
or
app
iPhone.
TVCO and see us over there.
Yes, Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Mm-hmm.
We are doing that every week for the entire run of Katie Keene. Depending how it goes, we might talk about doing some more stuff in the future.
We're also trying to do some vlogs where, you know, you can check in after the show. And I think so far we're saving our shows. So if that's the kind of catching up that you want to do.
Yeah.
Watching people watch.
If for 1 solid hour you'd like to watch us watch a TV show, by all means.
It started off rocky, but the second episode did a lot of course correction. So
I agree. Yes.
So yeah.
It's also something that is far more suited to Lucy Hale's sensibilities than Fantasy Island.
Tupac.
All right. Well, as always, you can follow us on Twitter at So I'm Watching, Instagram at So I'm Watching This Show. You can link out to everything from our website, soimwatching.com, and that includes our Patreon, where we talk about shows weekly. Right now, we are doing The Magicians and Riverdale, and 911 will be coming back up pretty soon, in like a month, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can go there, and all of the stuff we've already done in the past is still there. So if you become a patron, you have access to all of it. So I think that's it for us.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.